Woohoo! And it's Tuesday once again, and we're live. And I have a special guest in the house today, Anna Bravington, which I have to say, your name is so posh. It is so posh. I absolutely love it, love it, love it. So, we're talking today about the journey of launching a podcast. And this is just, I'm so excited about this. So excited. So, before we get stuck in, Anna, please introduce yourself, tell people who you are, what you do, and then we'll just jump right in.
I don't know, that's quite a hard question. I never know what I do half the time. So I'm Anna Bravington. I own an agency called Those That Dare, which does content strategy and content writing. And I'm from the UK. If anyone's watching from the UK, hello. And hello to all my American friends as well. So I do content strategy, content writing, and I just love content so much. I talk about it all the time.
Love it. Love it. It's your passion. It's your passion. And that's what I put in the intro. It's your passion to help people sort of jump over the chasm. I want to say chasm, but yeah, I don't know why I can't. Why is CH silent? I don't know. You know, there's some metaphor in that. There's some metaphor in that. But we're talking about, that is the name of your podcast. So I just want to give that a plug because that is what we're talking about today. Hopefully I have spelt it right. And I have just loved following your journey. And I've never, ever seen anyone else do this on LinkedIn before. Maybe I'm blind. I don't know. But I've never seen anybody document the journey that you did. And it was just like, I was cheering with you. I was like pom-poms on. I just got to see this podcast go live. It was amazing. And every step of the journey, you shared like behind the scenes, like, I got a jingle today. And, you know, just all the different things that you went through. And, you know, and you totally over-delivered because I absolutely love your podcast. And one of the things that I said to you is, I love how I always feel like you're talking to me. You know, I'm in the gym, I'm listening to you, but I feel like, oh, I got Anna in my head. You know, it's just really a good thing. So let's back up. And first of all, why did you even start a podcast? So let's start with that.
I was thinking about, because I started my business last September, and I was thinking about the type of audience that I have. I tend to work with quite large businesses where things like paid marketing don't always work because it's a lot more about growing your network and your specialism. And a friend of mine, Katie Street, who has her own agency, Street Agency, she does a new business agency, and she really recommended podcasts. She says that it works really well for agencies, and that they're fantastic. And I'd been on her podcasts as a guest when I worked previously in-house at Game, and I loved the format. I loved how it was a chat and it was personal. I'm not very good at quite formal sales, formal marketing, and it felt like it was much more authentic. I always tell my clients to do authentic content, something that interests them. I like to just have a chat. I mean, to be honest with you, it just gives me an excuse to chat to people I like. So it's purely selfish, really. And I just thought the format was wonderful. When I spoke to, I went through a podcast agency, the Ultimate Podcast Group, who James, who runs it, has had like top 10 podcasts on iTunes. So he knows what he's talking about. And he told me about how many people listen to podcasts, particularly over the pandemic, versus how many podcasts are actually around. And it was quite a small percentage. And so there is, although it felt over the pandemic that everyone was launching a podcast, it is still a very small amount. It's just that we think everyone has launched them. So he sort of talked about the market is still really, really big, even with the little surge that we had. So it's still unusual. It's a bit like writing a book. It's still a bit unusual to do. So it seemed to fit with what, you know, I love to do. I always tell clients, go out there and do something that's not everyone's doing in your market. Do something different. Do something that feels comfortable, with what, you know, with yourself and your business. And when I'm with clients, I talk them through things. You know, I've been talking the CFOs through marketing to train them in marketing because they don't understand it, and I'm helping the teams out. So it just felt like it fitted in every single way. You know, and podcasts are great for business development as well, because if you do like ABM one-to-one marketing, you can actually invite your prospects on as a guest for them to get to know you. And it's a very subtle way of just getting in their radar, you know. So there are other methods that you need to think about with podcasts, you know, use it as a business development strategy as well. So there's tactics behind it as well.
I love that. And, you know, and it's interesting, even though it is a business podcast, it is marketing focused, and yet it's very personal. Like we learn a lot about you listening to you, like dating a guy who put his crisps in the fridge. That just, I was laughing so hard when I read that. For Americans, crisp are potato chips, just so you know. Yes. And you know, playing what was it? It's Plants versus Zombies with your son, and you know, all these kind of things. And he beats you, like you just get gobbled up all the time. So bad. And how you talk about community, and so there's lots of insights into who you are, which kind of fits in with the whole, you know, know, like, and trust you part of the marketing angle. And I think that's nice. And I like how sometimes you have on a guest, sometimes it's just you. And it's like, we're just kind of getting insights into your life, but always actionable content suggestions. I remember, I think the last episode I listened to was about user generated content. And I started thinking about that as like, as a video person, I thought, I don't know if I really do a lot of that, of going to my community, my network, and getting stuff from them. Well, I suppose I do with my LinkedIn Live. So maybe that, I don't know, that's not quite the same as what you were talking about. It's more, you know, I love the idea. I guess John Asperian did it as a good example, who we must mention John on every one of my LinkedIn lives, because he's just like, to me, the focal point of how I know so many people. And that is how I met you, is through John. And I remember that was the first episode. One of the first episodes I listened to with your podcast was a great episode with John. It was so good. And he did that for his book. He had could everybody read a chapter? And it was, everybody raised their hand and said, I'll read a little snippet, well, not a whole chapter, but a little snippet, and, you know, testimonials for his membership group and stuff like that. So that was brilliant, but it makes you think, I'm not thinking about that strategy. That's a good strategy. So,
it's funny as well, because it is probably one of the underused strategies in all of marketing. And I think the problem is because people like control over their content, and they like to put a brand spin on it, and user generated content, you can feel a little bit out of control. But that's what's great about it. That's what works. That's what's amazing. But you just have to be ready to be exposed to that and to love it. I mean, the example I gave on the podcast, Snag Tights, which are,
I love that one. That was a great one.
I've never seen so many people, you know, like a company embrace it so much, and so many people tag them in their pictures, and they're so body positive that everyone, no matter what shape or size, men or women, with the, you know, they're in their tights and they're looking gorgeous. And it's absolutely wonderful. And they're just one of the pinnacle examples, because they've absolutely embraced it. And they started this group up as well, which was for the slightly racier stuff. And it's fantastic. There's Snag do not post any posts there. They comment on them, but it's all user generated content of everyone in their snags, which is just basically showing us how beautiful these snag tights look.
I love this.
And absolute genius. It's absolute genius. But it's done very naturally. It's done so naturally. It's people loving a product, enjoying it, and them going, come on, show us. We really love seeing you in our stuff. And it's fantastic. And that, I must admit, user generated content is one of my favorite things in the entire world. And wherever I go, I'm like, we must do some user generated
Love it.
content.
I love
But
it. I love it.
it's not used. It's not used. So if anyone, thinks about using it, you will stand out from the crowd because it's so different.
Perfect. Perfect. So about your podcast,
Mm.
now that you've kind of, you've 6 months now, you've launched and you're consistent and you just keep popping out those episodes and you have guests and sometimes you go by yourself and sometimes you make them a little bit shorter because your country is busy having jubilees and things like that. So it's really good. So my question would be, before you launch this, kind of what would you go back and tell your pre-podcast launch self? Oh, I didn't know I'd have to do this. Like, what are some of those I wish I had known beforehand?
I think the time it takes up. A podcast does take a lot of time. Not so much the recording, because I stick to topics I really know and interview people that I know their subject. Those actually don't take much prep. It's the time. The biggest time is getting guests. I don't know if you find the same, but I get lots of guests, but trying to coordinate them into some sort of order and trying to coordinate diaries. I've recently got Calendly. I wish I'd have had Calendly earlier. So
Okay,
I've connected it up to my 2 calendars, my work calendar and my personal one. And it means that saves me so much more time. So I can say, sign up to my podcast. Here's the link, because I was manually trying to coordinate diaries, and sometimes I was curating more than once. The other thing that before I started, I did a batch of recordings, and what I should have done is actually scheduled that for probably every 3 months to do batches of recordings and pre-schedule people literally months in advance, and sort of for a week do a batch of recordings and then put them up. I think that would have worked a little bit nicer. And then for my ones that I do in between on every other one, then I could just do those ad hoc based on what's going on in the world at the time. So it's more about the scheduling and coordination, because it's quite hard doing them on my own. I only do 20 minutes and that's quite easy. I can do it when my son's in the front room and, it's nice and easy. But it's the guests ones that you really need to think about a lot. And I wish I'd made a list of people I wanted on it, but your list runs out quite quickly. So I'm like, oh goodness, who next? And I know loads of people, but your mind goes blank.
Yes, yes.
And there's things like, should I carry on or do seasons that I'd never even thought about? So, that's a choice, whether you want to stop for a little while and then do seasons or just continue on. And also there was a couple of things about like the intro and the tone. So I've got a professional voiceover artist that the podcast agency helped me get. We wrote the intro us together, and everyone says, oh, it doesn't feel like the right intro, because everyone was expecting it to have a female intro, and something maybe a little bit funnier or sillier, or livelier, because of how I am in the podcast. And a few people have said how maybe it doesn't fit, and actually I 100% agree with them. It doesn't quite fit. So I'm in the process of redoing my intro through there. Someone else, John Asperian, knows as well, Trisha Lewis, who's going to be doing my intro, because she does voiceover.
Trisha? Oh, Trisha? That's fabulous. I know her. She's fabulous.
Yeah, she lives down here where I am. So she's going to be redoing my intro, because we're very much in the same personality, and I'm just trying to write it at the moment. But it needs to reflect the content, and at the moment it sounds probably a bit too. It's lovely. It sounds so professional, but maybe not the right tone of the voice. So there's a few things, trying to not get appeal, like not having flashy intros, knock you off and think, oh, that's wonderful, but actually thinking, is this right for me, rather than going, oh, it sounds amazing. So those are my hardest things. Content wise, I actually find it easy, because I always have so much I want to talk about, and so many subjects. And because I stick to my narrow content focus, I think that that's not too bad. I think if I went a bit broader, I'd probably struggle and it'd probably end up a bit messy. So I would say, like, if anyone's thinking about doing it, because initially I was just going to do marketing, and it just didn't fit. It was just too broad. So something a bit more niche, I think, works really well.
Those are
But yeah,
fabulous tips.
it's been an interesting journey. It's hard. And the other thing, actually, I didn't really think about is the fact that I'm an introvert. And I do not like, and I've mentioned it quite a few times in my podcast, and I mentioned it on video, I do not like my face or voice anywhere. And I just trying to get over that aspect of it if you're more introverted. And I do look, I call it my PR face. I can look extroverted when I need to, but it's very draining and it's quite hard. So if people are naturally introverted, think about how you're going to recoup after a podcast, because you might need a bit of downtime. Don't book a meeting straight afterwards, because that's really hard. And how you're going to come out of your shell a little bit and feel comfortable. Because even now I've just recorded my 30th episode and I'm still not quite, I'm still umming and ahhing, because it is so unnatural for me to talk on things. So it is really hard. And I just expected to sound like a podcaster, and you don't. It's really hard.
But you know what? That's what makes it good, to be honest with you. It's like if you and I were meeting for a cup of tea, we would have a natural conversation and we would speak naturally. We would stumble and ah and whatever. So I don't think it has to be perfect. It's kind of like the LinkedIn lives. It's like, it is what it is. And if people wanted it scripted, well, then we would have recorded it and I would have sat there and I would have cut them all out and everybody would be bored and they just scroll on past a 30-minute video. I'm not going to watch it. But because it's live, I think that is good. And to be honest with you, I have listened to some podcasts where, in my opinion, they were over edited. You could just hear that there's no gap. People have a little bit of a breath and there was no gap. It was like so tightly edited that it was hard to listen to. And I thought, why am I not enjoying this podcast? And I thought, it's because it's too perfect. It's over edited. So yeah, I like it. I'm a fan.
Is true.
And I left a review.
I know. 5 stars. Thank you so much.
And that's probably the hardest part, right? Is the reviews count. Like the reviews are important, right? So is that hard to drive those reviews? Because like, I don't even understand my review. It doesn't show up. It's weird. It shows up for me, but it doesn't show up somewhere else. It's very weird.
Yeah. So iTunes is, you can only see the reviews from your country. So it's really hard. So I went into the US one because I did see yours, because I managed to find the US site, but I can't find, I'd have to go through every country in the world to find all if there was reviews anywhere. So, it's incredibly hard. And people seem to struggle to find where to put reviews on iTunes.
Oh, it's so hard.
Yeah. Everyone was like, where do I put it? What? And I was trying to explain, and they just couldn't find it, which made it really hard for everyone to put them. And I've got a few in sort of the US, like where people have clicked 5 stars, but they haven't gone through and put the text in. And I've got a couple in the UK, and then some more people that have just clicked the 5 stars. So I think reviews are really hard to get, but it's lovely. If anyone leaves me them, I'm just so happy, because it means that they've gone to the effort of they've enjoyed it and gone to the effort of saying that I've enjoyed it, which is so, it literally means the world to me. I see these 5 stars, oh my God, this is amazing. It's absolutely brilliant, because for someone to take that time and do that for me and tell me how much they like it is incredible. And that's the thing you get from it, the effort that you put in. And that people are enjoying it. And John Asperian, he says that he listens to it every Monday on his walk. And so I'm doing it, even if it was just John listening to it, I'm there for his Monday walk. And that means the world, that I'm part of his routine. And he listens to it every Monday. And that is just, it means the world to me that some people will take the time out to do that and really enjoy it. So that the feeling you get back from it is absolutely amazing. And, if I can
Love it.
help one person with content, then, I've done my job, because it's hard. Content is super hard. And this is why I shared my journey, because
It's
I wanted
wonderful.
people to see that even though I'm experienced in content, I had never done a podcast before and had no clue what I was doing. And luckily I did have the agency to guide me a little bit, but even still, you have to do a lot of your own stuff. And I wanted to share it because people needed to see that there are steps, you have to take, and it is a lot to think about. But if you take it in the right steps, you can get there. And I hope that some people may have started a podcast from my journey, and I've shown them what steps to take. So because I love podcasts, and the more the merrier. So I'm hoping people will have done their own one since then.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's speaking of reviews and audience and whatever, let's hop over to our comments, because there's a lot. There's a lot to go through, which is awesome, because it means this topic is resonating for people and people are stopping by and enjoying it. So Jeff says, "Greetings, Gillian and Anna. Looking forward to hearing some content that starts conversations and with some chocolate and nonsense sprinkled in." I love that on your profile, chocolate and nonsense. That was just so cute. That was so cute. Marcia says, "Hello, Gillian, Whitney, and Anna Bravington. I'm looking forward to this topic as I am a new podcaster." So there we go. Welcome aboard. So the more the merrier. And and it's funny because I think there's this assumption that like, oh, podcasts are saturated. Don't be doing those. Move along. Go find something else to do. But you're saying, no, come on in. The water's good. The water's fine.
Yeah, share your podcast, because then I can listen to it.
Okay, pop that in the comments, and then tag both Anna and I so that we can listen to it.
Absolutely.
So hi, Gillian and Anna. So excited to see what you lovely ladies will be talking about. She is a podcast marketer, so it's awesome. I don't know if you guys are connected, but you guys should just connect, because she's awesome.
Definitely.
And she's coming to us today from Albuquerque, New Mexico. So, and that's the fun thing, is that we just have everybody from all over the place. And speaking of all over the place, we have somebody from Barbados. Gail is here from Barbados. So that's wonderful. Thank you for joining us today. We got Margot Walty coming in from, she's coming in from California. I love watching your journey, Gillian, Whitney. These are fun, informative. I love journeys. I love journeys, hero's journey, podcast journey. Journeys are awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Margot. Greetings from metropolitan Detroit. So Christopher's here today. I was just on his podcast last week. Not podcast, LinkedIn Live, but it's just wonderful. Boy, he should be doing podcast voiceovers, because he's just got like a voice that melts. It is amazing.
Really? I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Smooth. So smooth. Over 2 million podcasts, but many are inactive, so little competition. So that's an amazing statistic. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So what do you think that's about? Like, do you think people just like like they launch and then they like, okay, shiny object, I think I'll go off and start a YouTube channel now?
There are so many that stop at one podcast or 2 or 3 podcasts. And when I've been looking through, and I said, oh, that sounds an interesting topic. 2 podcasts 5 years ago, and they've just given up. And I think that's the problem. It's hard work, and people don't struggle to fit it in, I think.
That's depressing. That's depressing. Okay. I think another friend of mine said video moves, but audio's got legs. And I love that, because, it's funny. I am kind of a little bit of a podcast addicted to podcasts. I love podcasts. I have more than I could listen to in my lifetime. I'd have to quit my job and just listen to podcasts all day. But I started going back to the gym, which is not my friend. I don't like going to the gym, but I reward myself by listening to podcasts. So some people like to go to the gym and listen to music, and they got to hear that beat so that they can use the machines and stuff like that. I like listening to podcasts, because then I feel like I'm multitasking in the most positive way possible, because it's a physical and a mental workout at the same time, because I love to learn. So that's what I do. So walking the dog, going to the gym, doing the dishes. I take all those things that I don't want to do, doing the dishes, cleaning the
Yeah.
toilet. It's like I'm
Yeah.
sure there's podcasters going, too much information. I didn't know you're cleaning the toilet listening to me. It's so true.
Do you know what? It's funny though, because people do more on the toilet than we think. I used to work in retail, and there was a stat that I read that 8% of people shop on the toilet, and in some areas of England, it's as much as 21% shop on the toilet. So,
Oh my God.
it's something that should be maybe part of the strategy.
Well, I just clean the toilets. I don't sit on the toilet. Although, could you imagine, like, when you see those commercials, or like somebody says, "I see you," and it's like, well, I hope not, because look where I am. I
Rubber
don't want to be
gloves
seen
on.
here. That's right. That's right. I love when people. I love this on LinkedIn Lives when people are saying hi to other people in the comments. That is just so sweet that they're all saying hi to each other. Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, we've got a LinkedIn user. I didn't mean to say LinkedIn user. So we got the blank head. So Jeff, I know will always go and help this person out because it's a setting issue. But this is great stuff. My experience exactly using my podcast and my lives. So what do you think about that? Because that is kind of, a lot of people are doing that now. They'll do a LinkedIn Live, and I know that you use StreamYard. So, and actually you use StreamYard for recording your podcast, don't you? For your guests?
I do. Yes.
Which is interesting. And the trick about StreamYard, for people who don't know this, is that when you're done recording, you get an MP4, which is the video file, plus an MP3. And so a lot of LinkedIn Live people are saying, well, what do I do with this MP3? If I was smart, I would do something with it, and I'd create a podcast from it. And then they kind of tweak it a little bit and do stuff. So what are your thoughts on that, Anna?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I use StreamYard, because it's so multi-purpose. I'm a bit of a skinflint when it comes to money and don't like to spend out on too many programs. So it means I can do
Oh,
lives
smart.
and I can do podcasting at the same time. And I love the fact that it just easily does the MP3, which is a good quality MP3. And then the MP4, I can then, like we were talking earlier, that you can repurpose it for video. What I'm actually going to do is, I have set up a YouTube channel, and I'm going to take all of my podcasts, caption them, and put them all on YouTube, so people have a visual one as well, so everyone has a video to go with them. So that is a big task, and it's something that I'm going to set this year. But and then it means that depending on what medium people like, if people like video, I have some friends that actually can't listen to my audio podcast because they can't hear very well. And so if I do videos with captions, then some friends of mine can listen or see my podcast, because it came up, and I suddenly thought, oh my God, they can't actually hear my podcast, which actually made me really sad. And so I thought, actually, it would be really nice, and I know that you love captions because they're so inclusive, that it made sense that more people could see my podcast and read them and see the video than just having audio, because that is the problem with audio. And so actually maybe using it in two different ways is a good idea, because I don't know if you can have like subtitles on any of the podcast ones, but I've never seen it in like a podcast program. I've never seen
like if you're listening on Apple or on your iPhone or something. I think that there's accessibility things and settings you can have. So if you have that, but I personally don't use that because I'm usually not watching, like I'm walking the dog, or I'm at the gym or something. So I wouldn't even want the subtitles. So
I thought video would just be so much more inclusive to just add that as an extra, because I've already got the content. It makes sense to reuse it when you've got it. And then, with the LinkedIn Lives, like you said, reusing that content. I'm such a big reuser of content, because content is really hard to create. It takes time and it takes
It
effort.
does.
And if you can reuse some content, I mean, out of a podcast and or a video, you know, a sort of 30-minute video, you could probably get 20 or 30 pieces of content.
Yes.
And you know, if you're taking all the snippets and then you look at the different formats, so you could do audiograms, video snippets, images with quotes on, and you don't have to use them all in one go, because people need to keep reiterating a message to people. So you could say, right, well, in 6 months time, I'm going to go back to this message and I'm going to use, I've got a folder full of ones I've used. I've got a folder full of ones I haven't used. Let's go back and do that. I know there's a video guy, Juma Bannister. I don't know if you've heard of
he's
him.
Fabulous. He's fabulous.
Amazing. He is. And he's been
He
on
was a guest on your show. You have an episode. You have an episode on him.
And he talks about the fact that he has a huge bank of content. So if he's ever sick or anything ever happens, he can actually dig into it as well. So it's really good to have that bank of content. So if you're using something like StreamYard, where you've got the MP3 and the video, there's so much you can do with it, and different audiences will see it. And I think people are afraid to repeat content, but you don't. People don't take it in straight away. So you need to keep repeating it so it didn't go in. Someone said people need to see it like 20 or 30 times for it to actually properly stick. So
plus your
don't
audience
worry.
grows. You're like on LinkedIn, you know, I just released a LinkedIn live snippet from last January, this past weekend, because since January, I have new people in my network. They never would have seen the original one. So, and if anybody else has seen it, they've probably forgotten it or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that you don't realize that you're growing with your audience. So it's good to repeat this content. And so much of it is timeless. It is timeless. So then this is really a very good tip for people, that if you're going to do a podcast, think about doing it with a thing like StreamYard. Another one would be Zoom, where you get you get the audio and the video, because even if you don't use the video now, you might want it later. Because like you said, you're going to turn around and take all these videos of something that was like now 6 months, 8 months, 9 months down the road, and you can repurpose those. So that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So, okay. So we've hit our 30-minute mark. I don't know how it goes so fast. We haven't even got through the comments. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, how would you wrap this up for us? Like, what would you basically say as the takeaway sage advice for us today, Anna?
I would say if anyone wants to start a podcast, do it. Because as you've seen, there is actually less competition in the market, and other places you're fighting for content, but actually in podcasting, it's very good. It's so universal, because you can, like you said, people can listen to it cooking, at the gym. It can be really part of people's lives. So it's something that is so great for people that are busy, that they can do it whilst they're doing something else. And it can be a really good way to digest content. The other thing I'd say is, like, go and have a look at like my podcast journey or other people's, and see the steps involved. Because I found that doing it step by step, so you know, audio, picking your guests. I did a mind map in Coggle, which I love Coggle, or you can use Miro, and do a mind map of all the guests you want to do, all the topics you want to talk about, and you'll find that it will really come together with all the pieces that you want. You don't have to have fancy equipment though, and you don't have to have intros. It's that people get stuck with thinking, oh no, I can't do it yet because I haven't got the best microphone, I haven't got the most perfect setup, or I haven't got an intro music. Don't just do a voiceover intro yourself, you know, just do something nice and easy. I really makes me sad that people aren't seeing wonderful content by really knowledgeable people, because people think they haven't got the good enough content, not good enough equipment or recording stuff. If you've got a half decent, you know, microphone, use your webcam, just do what you can. You know, a lot of my guests have the earphones that you get with mobile phones, and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So you don't have to buy anything really expensive. I didn't have all my expensive equipment. Well, it's not that expensive either because I'm a bit of a cheapskate. I didn't have that straight away. It's actually more important to get going and learn that journey as you go. And, you know, don't worry about putting it on all the platforms. If you can't do that, just put it on one platform. Just build it up as you go, because you'll slowly get that knowledge and experience. And, you know, after 30 episodes, I'm like, oh, right, so that's how that works. And this is how this works. And I'm still not fabulous at it at 30 episodes. You know, it's a learning journey. So I just want get that great content out there. Should I jump over that content chasm?
Ah, perfect. And that is her podcast, folks. So let me just show that check out the podcast, follow, go follow, connect with Anna. And then you can see, you can scroll back through her posts and you can watch all the journey that she took. And, you know, I'm going you know, the countdown, you did a several day countdown and it's tomorrow. And it's like, I've got my biscuits ready and, you know, just all those
it's all
things.
about the biscuit.
It's all about the biscuits. And you must have proper tea.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
A plug for the tea. Okay. So we're going to sign off now, everybody. And thank you so much for being here today, Anna. This was absolutely awesome. And we'll see you all again next week. And bye, everybody.